Welcome back, everyone. High school football, WJBF Sports Game Night Live. Ashley Brown, Matt Lane, Nathan Edwards in the booth. Stephanie French braving the weather on the field, and she'll have some updates for us on those field conditions coming up during the first part of the ball game. We've got our entire crew here ready to bring you tonight's matchup between the Harlem Bulldogs and the Screven County Gamecocks. Again, Screven County at 4-1. Harlem comes in with a record of 2-3, having won 2 straight, including that big win over Swainsboro a week ago. Because of that win, some notoriety, their offensive line was picked by at Georgia High School Sports Daily as the offensive line of the week in the state of Georgia. The opening kickoff fielded by Screven at about the 15, and the return man is going to be brought down just across the 30-yard line. So about a 16 or so yard return, and that's where Screven will take over. On the return was Jeremy Hawkins. He is already committed to play at Georgia Southern. He's an outstanding defensive player, but also being forced into duty as the starting running back because their star running back, Malik Prescott, is out with an injury for the 3rd consecutive game. He played 2 plays each of the last 2 weeks. They tried to get him in to go, but he just hasn't been able to. The real big thing to keep an eye on, the officials saying they've got an issue with the change right now. The big thing to keep an eye on is this huge offensive line for Screven County against Harlem. And the size differential, when you look at Screven, their fullback is 270, tailback's 210. They've got a tight end 265, and then up front, they're on the left side of the line 305 and 275. On the right side 270 and 265. They're huge.
Yeah, really big at tight end, like you said, 265.
And the lead blocker, the fullback, gets one man, but the second guy through makes a big play. Number 57 making the tackle for Harlem. That's Kelvin Burns. He's only a sophomore. Nice play by the defensive lineman. Number 21 there, that's the fullback. He's a sophomore, 5'11", 270, C.J. Wright.
Goodness.
The quarterback, Armani Burnberry. He's a 10th grader as well. This is a young Screven County team. Burnberry hands it to the fullback. The first man through, he's a load, but he's brought down after a short gain across the 35 to the 36.
And another good stop by the Harlem right there, bringing up what looks to be a passing down here for Screven County.
The one thing that impressed me with Harlem last year in the game we did, even though they lost, they're a scrappy bunch. They're physical. They hit hard. They're pretty sure tacklers. And this time, first man misses. A helmet's flying down the field. And the ball carrier is going to pick up the first down. That was Hawkins on the carry, and then a helmet just came rolling out of the pile.
Yeah, and it was actually a lineman for Screven County, but right there Harlem had him in the backfield, had him for a 4th down, but not able to wrap up and make the tackle, and those are going to be the first downs that Harlem has to avoid letting Screven County get, because they had him dead to rights in the backfield, bringing up a punting situation, but they weren't able to make the tackle.
The ball's up to the Screven 49-yard line, 1st and 10. And they're going to throw. Burnberry looking to throw, and that one's high and incomplete, in and out of the hands of the intended receiver, Taquan Johnson, a 6'3", 195-pound 10th grade wide receiver. Pretty good size.
Yeah, but right there overthrown a little bit, and again, it's going to probably take the quarterbacks, even through warm-ups, a little while to get used to throwing the ball in a game situation because right there, receiver was open, just kind of flew on him a little bit.
Yeah, both these teams like to run it a lot, but Screven this year has had some success throwing the ball, and Harlem has as well. They like to run it more, but they're not afraid to air it out when they need to. I formation for Screven County here. First drive of the game. They hand it to Hawkins. Hawkins with a head of steam. Hawkins breaks to the outside, still on his feet. He might go. No, he's tripped up. Nice play by Bailey Postel to save a touchdown. Hawkins, the young man we said is committed to Georgia Southern, not as a running back, but as a possible linebacker.
And right there you see certainly doesn't lack toughness with the way he ran there. And for Harlem, once again, they have folks in the area. They just have to make the tackle. And if they try to make the tackle around their legs, because so far really high tackles, which usually never work out when you try to tackle somebody so high.
Well, certainly not against a bigger team. And here's the fullback, C.J. Wright. And a nice head of steam for the big fella. He's just a 10th grader as well. Tackle made by Harlem's number 9, Zach Ford. While we got a moment, let's go down to the field for an Augusta Auto Auction sideline report. Here's Stephanie French. Steph?
Hey guys, well you did mention the rain earlier. It's a light mist right now, but there's a lot of wind. I talked to Coach Booker before the game about the field conditions. He said the center of the field's a little bit more drier than the outsides, but he said the way the field drains, it's going to be a little bit more muddy, a little bit more slick on the end zones. So that could play a big factor in the game tonight. Back to you.
All right, thanks a lot, Steph. And like I said, both these teams like to keep it on the ground, and you wonder about the footing sometimes on cuts and things like that. But so far, Screven County's looked good. They're in the Orange Theory Fitness orange zone inside the 20.
Yeah, and if you're really either team, you can almost get away with poor tackling as long as you're diving at the legs because, like you said, the footing really slick out here. So to think that you're going to be able to make a lot of moves if someone's in and around your legs, I don't think that's going to be possible.
Hawkins, the featured back in this game tonight, and that time he's down just short of the goal line. He came into tonight with only 21 attempts, 192 yards, averaging 9 yards a carry, but they are without their star running back, Malik Prescott. 45 attempts, 571 yards, and he's averaging 12.5 yards a carry, 7 touchdowns. But again, that was mostly done in the first 3 games of the season. He was one of the state's leading rushers when he went down with that injury, back hip injury. Burnberry's going to hand it off, and the big fullback powers his way in. That's a touchdown for C.J. Wright. So a short touchdown for Screven County from 2 yards out, and they march down the field in just a little over 3 minutes and get the score.
Again, big series right there for Harlem. They end up giving up the touchdown, but we'll see if they learn from their mistakes on the tackling on that first drive because really not even trying to grab in and around the ankles, and that's probably what you're going to have to do. These are really big backs. You're not going to be able to try to throw them to the ground. These, even backups that, you were talking about with their starter out, these guys still have pretty good size on them. So to think that you're going to be able to just kind of run into them and have any kind of momentum tackle is not going to be the case tonight.
Well, Tyler Owens knocks the kick through. The place kicker and one of the team captains, number 16, he makes it. And just like that, Screven County leads it. It's 7-0 Screven County. Back with more from Harlem High School right after this. And we're back. Harlem High School, the site for tonight's WJBF Game Night Live. Screven County took 3 minutes and 2 seconds to march right down the field and get the 2-yard touchdown from their fullback, C.J. Wright, his first touchdown of the season. He reminds me a little, I don't know if you remember this name, Clarence Pooh Bear Williams. Remember the fullback for Florida State back in the day? He was about 275, 280.
Yeah, and I believe he's kicking as well.
Yeah, he's kicking off, yeah.
There's been, sometimes running backs. I remember Javarsky Lane for Texas A&M some years ago was a hefty man himself.
Big fella.
Every now and then you'll see those come out of the rosters and the starting lineups, and you'll think it's a misprint, and then you see him on the field, and you go, wow, somebody has to tackle that person.
Yeah, very similar start for Harlem to what Screven County did. There you see the starting lineups for Harlem. Keep an eye on number 2, Bailey Postel. He had 200 yards rushing a couple of weeks ago, and then last week against Swainsboro, he rushed for 149. They have found their go-to guy. Owen Price runs the offense. And also, you'll see Lane Phillips run the ball. He's lined up as a tight end and a receiver, but you'll see him run the ball as well. And that offensive line did an outstanding job against Swainsboro. Let's see what they do against a bigger Screven County team. The 2 men to keep an eye on defense for Screven County, number 1, Jeremy Hawkins, who is also the featured tailback tonight. Also keep an eye on number 8, Eric Hayward. Hayward has several Division I offers. He's a good-sized defensive end at 6'3", 215.
First down.
So, penalty on Harlem. You heard the call from the official. Our crew tonight ready to brave the rain and weather. And so far it hasn't been as bad as we thought it could be. It's a little chilly and windy, but the rain's not as bad as we thought it might be.
Yeah, different times being thrown around as to when to really expect the worst of it, but I guess we'll just have to see.
Well, they ran right into defense to Hawkins, who came up from his linebacking spot. And number 1, Jeremy Hawkins, makes the tackle on Postel. So backed up and losing maybe a yard or 2 there. So it's going to be second and about 16. There you see the defensive alignment for Screven. Number 8, Eric Hayward. Keep an eye on him at defensive end. Solomon's a solid linebacker as well, one of the team captains. Hawkins, number 1, is maybe their best player. And that pass is incomplete. They tried to get it to the outside in the flats. So it's going to be 3rd and long for the Bulldogs, 3rd and 16.
And I'll say this is sort of hard to see, but actually the mist or the light rain that's coming down right now is actually blowing directly into Harlem. So for the quarterback, for him to take his drop and look at his receiver, the rain is blowing right in his face. It's going in that direction, so maybe that might have had something to do with the missed throw there.
Owen Price had an outstanding year in baseball a year ago. This time he slips, but he keeps his footing. Tries to run to the left side, and he stopped, so they're going to have to punt it away, but that could have been a disaster.
Yeah, and it looked like he kind of came up right there at the end of the run.
And you see it kind of blurry on our screen. We've got rain and wind. And
yeah, it's one of those things. It doesn't really matter how great your field kind of drains the water. It's just going to be so wet just from it being overcast.
Well, and it's
really
getting chewed up as well by the cleats out there. So, depending on.
But not only that, this is going to be one of those games where you don't necessarily make any moves, run as fast as you can straight, and then make very minimal moves, and you can potentially pick up a big gain just because for anybody trying to cut or do anything, it's going to be extremely difficult.
Well, the quarterback Price is also the punter, and now he backs up into punting mode instead of quarterback mode. High snap fielded by Price. He gets it off, and it's going to be a short kick. It does take a great Harlem bounce, and it's stripped. The Screven County return man picked it up, and it was stripped. Then he gets it back, but it's going to be a great, in terms of field position, a great pickup for Harlem on the exchange.
Yeah, almost, I think, a little over a 20-yard difference when that ball was initially picked up is where it landed.
Jatari Tanksley was the return man, number 28. There you see him. He tried to pick it up, right, and the defender just came in and stripped it.
Yeah, the first mistake was the worst. They're just trying to pick it up instead of just letting it go.
There you see Todd Booker, the first-year head coach here at Harlem. Previous coaching stints, he was a head coach at Hepzibah, but has spent the last, I think, 6 years or so as the athletic director at Grovetown. They hand it off to Hawkins. He tries to break a tackle, but good job hanging on to him there. I think that was number 24, Brown, for Harlem. Harris. Chris Harris with the tackle.
Getting a hole developed on the outside there, but give Harlem credit again. Getting the stop on the run, even though there was a hole there to run through on the outside. Harlem still corralled the offensive line enough to get in front of it and get the tackle for the minimal gain.
So Screven County leads it 7-0. They have the football. And the ball is spotted just over the 25 to the 26-yard line. Screven going to hand it off to the big fella up the middle, C.J. Wright. He's got a head of steam, and boy, that kid is not bad for a 10th grader to be that big and be that mobile.
Absolutely not. Very strong run right there. It just goes to show, looked like a good tackle attempt, but just not enough to hang on.
Like
those
you
powerful
said,
legs.
If you're going to tackle anybody high, he's not the guy to do it.
Yeah, he is the last candidate you would want to choose for that.
And Screven gets it all the way up to the 50-yard line. So pick up a 24 from C.J. Wright, who is having his best game of the season thus far. Bunbury going to hand it off. Here's Hawkins. Hawkins trying to break to the outside, but good job by the Harlem defense there. Postel, and also in on the tackle, number 39. That's Landaverde, who made the play along with Postel.
And we'll remind you, after the game, stop by McDonald's and pick up their Southern Style Sweet Tea for only $1. McDonald's. I'm loving it.
Screven County on the move here on their second possession of the game. They hand it off to Hawkins. Hawkins, well, they're just running right up the middle behind that big offensive line, and Hawkins picks up good yardage. Postel makes the tackle.
Yeah, for Harlem, they're going to have to do a lot of gang tackling tonight if they're going to be able to bring down these runners for Screven County. And even if that means just getting in the way, a lot of times you'll see defensive linemen do that submarine technique where they just block a gap and just make sure they can't run through there and try to contain the outsides. And hopefully you can get enough defensive players there to get the tackle, because they are opening up some pretty wide running lanes so far.
The quarterback for Screven is number 5, Armani Bunbury. He's a sophomore. He's 6'2". Good-sized kid. He faked it to Hawkins, and he keeps it himself right up the middle. Oh, and he took a shot at the end of the play. Coming up with Zach Ford making the big hit, number 9. I think Ford got a little bit of...
Looked like the quarterback might have mishandled the ball a little bit on the fake. That'll be that'll be key throughout this game, really for both teams. Almost seems like the least amount of fakes and any type of trickeration might come in handy for the teams, just because you want to give the ball off as soon as possible, because we've already seen it on the ground, and it's only going to get worse as this game goes on.
Well, we talk about games being games of matchups, and size-wise, this is not a great matchup for Harlem. The pass was incomplete, though. It looked like the receiver, Tyquan Johnson, was trying to run before he got the ball that time. He's only a 10th grader as well. Again, we said this is a young Screven County team. And you see the size differential on the two teams. Harlem, though, like I said, what impressed me about them last year in the game we did, I believe it was Jefferson County, they had a lot of fight in them, and they had several defensive backs. Zach Ford, Owen Price playing in there some, and Bailey Postel, who really played physical. They hand it to C.J. Wright, and the big fella rambling around the right side for good yardage, and they are having a hard time with this ground game with Screven County right now.
Yeah, I think I counted 4 missed tackles right there from Harlem, really all early on in the run. And again, it's even to the point where it's going to be hard for you to make that tackle even on his legs. You almost just want to dive at the ground and make him either get airborne or adjust his run, because so far not much going Harlem's way when they've tried to make those tackles.
Well, they fake it to Wright, and this time Bunbury slips and falls. But you know the kid has to be a pretty good athlete. When you're 270, they automatically push you to the offensive line workouts.
Sure, absolutely.
That unit. But this kid obviously is pretty nimble, and we're seeing it tonight.
Especially nowadays when it's, more offensive linemen. They're more athletic now than they have been in the past. Back in the old days, that was kind of where you might have hidden someone that was just strong, maybe not super athletic. Now, with the way that teams pull with certain offensive linemen, you almost encourage that athleticism. So, yeah, like you said, for him to get the nod in the backfield, they must know they got something good.
They're Hawkins on the run, and again, Screven County's second drive, and they're back in the Orange Theory Fitness orange zone tonight. Under 3 minutes to go first quarter. Harlem has only ran 3 offensive plays and then a punt. So, third down for Screven County. Third and about 5 or 6. See what they elect to do. They've ran it primarily tonight. 2 pass attempts, both incomplete. Hawkins made a man miss. He's running for the end zone, and he barrels his way in. It is a touchdown for Screven County. On 3rd and 6, Jeremy Hawkins made a great fake right when he got the football, and that allowed him to get to the outside for the touchdown.
Yeah, and then a great run after to pick up the touchdown. He earned every single yard of that. No open running lanes there, that's for sure.
So Hawkins gets the score, and Tyler Owens comes on to try to add one more point. And Screven County taking control here in the early going. And the bad snap this time, snap behind the holder. He's going to try to run with it, nowhere to really go, and he's going to be hammered, and the ball comes out at the end of the play. So the extra point is no good. So Screven leads it 13-0. We'll take a quick timeout, and we're back with the final 2:11 of the first quarter coming up when we return on WJBF Sports Game Night Live. And welcome back to Harlem High School, where tonight's WJBF Sports Game Night Live broadcast between the Bulldogs and the Screven County Gamecocks. Screven County looking very good in the early going with the ground game, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely running it kind of at will there. They've tried to do a few different types of runs, but really the best thing has worked just running it straight up the middle. That's how they've gotten their 2 touchdowns and all of their long runs so far in this game.
And I said they're young. They start 5 sophomores on their starting 11 on offense. And they were ranked in the top 10 in the state up until last week, as C.J. Wright kicks it off. And it's fielded at about the 25. A big hit, but the ball carrier stays on his feet. Brought down short of the 30, though.
And you can see from just Harlem's pants just how difficult it is to kind of navigate the terrain out there this evening. Real muddy.
All right, well, let's go down on the sidelines as Harlem prepares to take over on offense. Here's Stephanie French with an Augusta Auto Auction sideline report.
Well, guys, it's been just about 10, 11 years since Coach Booker had a head coach position on a football field, but I asked him about the difference between Hepzibah, where he coached last in 2004, and coaching here at Harlem. He said it's a much smaller squad, about 60 guys compared to 100 over at Hepzibah. He said, you know, what they lack in talent, they make up in work ethic. He said it's a great group of guys to work with. He really likes being here. And back up to you guys.
All right, thanks a lot. Yeah, of course, he was the athletic director at Grovetown since they opened their doors, but he did not coach football. Rodney Holder was the head coach. He wanted to get back into coaching. He missed it, but also he's got a son coming up, and I think one of the reasons Coach Booker got back into it, I think he'd like to coach his son at the high school level. Can't blame him for that. And when the Harlem job came open, they had a lot of candidates, and in the end they selected Todd Booker. And I think they made a good choice. He's a guy that's from the area, knows the area very well, was an outstanding athlete in his own right during his playing days at Butler. And right now he's got him on a 2-game winning streak after they started the season 0-3. But keep in mind, they lost those games to bigger programs, Greenbrier 5A, Grovetown 5A, and they lost the overtime game to Warren County. They could easily be 3-2.
Well, you can even see from their scoring differential. You see incomplete pass there, just their scoring differential, really nothing going their way to begin the year, and then it's something like a switch was flipped.
Yeah.
And they 41-7 against Glasscock, and then like you said last week, getting the win over Swainsboro, for their homecoming game. For Swainsboro homecoming,
Yeah.
they go in there and beat them, and they did it with big weeds from Lane Phillips, Chris Harris, and Pastel, and that's who they're going to have to rely on this evening if they're going to be able to get a win out of this. But very difficult with the field conditions in terms of passing. It's almost like you practice for a lot of different stuff during the week, and then you're kind of forced to really limit that playbook here during the game.
Lane Phillips is taking over at quarterback for Owen Price. There you see Phillips, number 10. Last week he carried the ball 19 times for 127 yards and 2 touchdowns. But now he's in there at quarterback with Owen Price. Now, remember, Owen Price ran the ball on the last play of the drive and took a hit. He then punted, but he was walking around kind of funny. I thought, okay, he's going to stay out there and punt. He must be okay. But I don't know if maybe he was banged up more than we thought, because he's out of there right now. They've got Lane Phillips in there.
Well, yeah, they're at the very end of the run. He looked like he tried to make a move, and maybe his foot got stuck or maybe got rolled upon on the tackle. But, yeah, did kind of walk off gingerly. And we'll see from him if he's able to return to the game.
Well, now he's going to punt. The snap is high. Phillips is going to try to run and get the punt off. Oh, and he's hit as he tries. The ball is going to go out of bounds. It's going to be Screven County football.
Yeah, and in a game like this, you're almost crazy if you don't go after the punt, just because, it's very difficult to catch that ball, and most importantly, not only to catch it, but to put your plant leg down and kick the ball.
Well, and you also had the backup punter in, because Owen Price is the normal punter. Watch on their instant replay. Augusta Payne Center hit of the game might have been right there. Number 6, Kevin Walker, 6'1", 210-pound defensive end. Levels Lane Phillips.
At the worst time, right as he's trying to kick the ball.
Yeah, he was trying to kick it, trying to
get anything
happen.
Yeah.
And the Bulldogs now have dug themselves into a hole, down 13-0, and you got Screven County knocking on the door again after the bot snap. You see the Bulldog staff, none too happy. You were mentioning their start, though. Keep in mind those two lopsided, or one of them was lopsided, the 2 losses. Again, those are the 5A programs, much bigger schools. When they got down to opponents that are their size, right now they're 2-1 with an overtime loss. So playing much better. Screven County has the football inside the 10.
And in a game like this, it really comes down to just eliminating mistakes. Again, you might not have the best play drawn up, but if you're able to play mistake-free, as we saw Harlem at the beginning of the game, they seem to be playing mistake-free, and then they had a little trouble here past couple minutes. But for Screven County, they had a couple of moments where they could have easily turned the ball over to Harlem and put them in great field position. And I think that'll be the kind of the name of the game for the rest of this game, is if you can eliminate those problems, certainly set yourself up to do well in this game.
A new running back here into the game for Screven. That's Kim Hunter, number 3. He's also a sophomore. Hit the hole hard, but he's brought down shy of the goal line.
Just shy of the goal line. Brings up second down.
So Hunter brought down shy of the goal line. That's going to end the first quarter.
going to end the first quarter.
Screven County has got it goal to go here. When we come back, WJBF Sports Game Night Live. Screven County leads Harlem 13-0, and they're trying to add to it when we return.